A few opening comments then. What we're doing this morning is we are asking for analysis and feedback. It will be mostly in writing. What's happened is the board's committee leaders of faith have put together where we think the congregation is, what we think the key issues that are coming are. We'd like you to react to those. Are we on base? Are we off base? What should be added? So there'll be 3 key segments we go through today: worship, future growth, congregational culture. You'll be asked to react to what we think are the strengths and weaknesses. You'll also be asked some survey questions where either we're trying to help you think a little bit, or we want some information that we don't have that's going to help us craft, and here's the ultimate goal. We're at that point again where we want to do 3- and 6-year goals for the congregation. All right. So you'll be asked to fill out that survey. There's a 1-page volunteer sheet at the end too. You'll hear more about that. If you can, we would prefer that you would finish these today and leave them there, because we know human nature. If you take it home, it's probably not coming back. That having been said, we also realize there are people for whom it just takes a little longer to process and take the time and get the answers in writing. If that's you, that's just fine. Take it. There'll be opportunity to bring it back as well. These presentations will be posted online on our website, on our YouTube channel within a few days. Next, then, we're asking for feedback in writing. This today isn't a debate of ideas. It's not a brainstorming session. We want kind of analysis of where we are. In writing, why do we do that? So that everybody gets a voice and not just the talkers. Last one, in writing, we just ask, please no snide or sarcastic comments. If you believe I wear the ugliest ties of any pastor you've ever met, that's fine. Come and talk to me about it. But those kind of comments, they're not going to be included on the digest of comments that we receive from people. These will be used by our leadership to craft 3- and 6-year goals for our congregation. If you look at the first page then of your packet, there's a little bit of a background paragraph. You can read that for yourself. Not going to read that to you. Then a demographic, and by the way, in the demographic, you'll notice if you're visiting today, that's just fine. We'd still love to hear from you. Just circle not a member on there, but we still want to know what you think. Then the next 2 pages, a lot of numbers. But it gives you a snapshot of kind of what's been going on at Faith for the last 20 years. We'll refer to some of these in the presentations as we move forward. That would take us to the first of my presentation this morning, which is the area of worship. So worship is the foundational act of a congregation. It's our opportunity to give God glory, to hear His word, to sing, to pray together, partake of baptism, communion, the sacraments, to encourage and interact with our brothers and sisters face to face. And so I have a little question. This one isn't on your little sheet here, but here's the question. Which of the following is necessary for Faith Congregation according to God? Christian school, 15-acre campus, a gym, Sunday school, in-person worship, athletic teams, a grand piano, Chromebooks, connect groups. And the answer? Only one. In-person worship. We don't even need a building to do it. Hebrews 10, let's consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging each other, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Not my words, God's. Right? So, worth considering then. If you look at that statistical sheet, here's one trend line, our baptized membership. I know those numbers are teeny tiny. At the beginning, about 20 years ago, about 1,475 members at Faith. Today, about 1,660, I think, or 1,650, somewhere around there, baptized membership. So overall, the trend line goes up. There's ups and downs, you see that, but overall, the trend line goes up. 14, 16, 200 more baptized members today than about 20 years ago. But you look at worship. and we are worshiping less and less frequently. Both in terms of the numbers, the average worship attendance, if you go back 20 years, was almost 800 per week. That's when the membership was 1,400. Today, we're at about 630. You see, you know what that little dip is, right? It's COVID, okay? And we've come back out of it, but not up to where it was before. And that trend line goes steadily down. Not only the numbers, but the percentage. That's the other one. They're almost exact mirrors of each other. Back 20 years, over 50%. Today, under 40. The one thing that God would require a faith congregation, just worth thinking about. So the key issues that our leaders feel are going to be important over the next 3 to 6 years, well, look at the first one, increasing in-person worship, connecting new families to worship. We have noticed that, you realize this, over almost 100 new people join Faith Congregation every year. Now we lose almost the same amount through death and transfer and things like that, but almost 100 new. But what we are noticing is that those who are coming our way through transfers, adult confirmations, less and less we're seeing regular worship patterns established. Same thing we see in our school. We take worship attendance there in the classrooms, and we see that trend line go down maybe even more rapidly at that level than we do the congregation at large. Looking at doing some things in worship, one, Refueled, incorporating it into the fabric and worship, and I've got a slide in a second that'll delve into that a little bit more. Next one is Related, providing resources for sustaining and expanding. And then the third one, it's not just Refueled. We want to provide resources to do all our worship services with excellence. Scheduling efficiently. I'm going to have another slide that talks about that. And then providing high-quality stream service for those who are unable to attend. You know, that's akin to what many years was done by Tape Ministry. The main purpose of that is for those who truly can't be here. And as a mission outreach, we kind of know now that people will often check your service out online before they ever set foot in your building. So important, but remember, not a replacement for in-person worship. It isn't just the fifth service at Faith Lutheran Church. Meet together, right? Those were God's words. So I said Refueled, something new at Faith. If you haven't been to one of those services and are wondering what it is, it's Christ-centered worship with a style that's less formal. It uses a worship band to accompany the songs and uses songs mostly from Christian contemporary artists, often the songs that you might hear if you listen to Christian radio. It's currently offered on the second Sunday of the month at 10:30. It's averaging well over 400 at every service, which would make it the highest attended of our regular services. Most new faces have been inactive members and other WELS visitors, with a number of first-time visitors as well. And it's leading us now to really start asking the questions, what next? So there are some worship survey questions, which I'll go through in just a minute, where we're seeking your help, your information that hopefully will help us make good decisions in that regard. I guess it just should be noted that, you know, worship being the fundamental thing that we do, it's also then one of the things that can rile people up the most, for the better, for the worse. And the one thing we want to do as we walk forward with worship and what we do in Refueled and all of those things is that we would collaborate, that key point there, collaborate on the enhancement and growth and continued striving so that we prevent an us versus them mentality when it comes to things like worship style or preference, that this is the good one, this is the not so good one, this is better, this is worse. We do all have our tastes and preferences, don't we? We are so blessed with gifted people in many, many different facets, and we are thankful for that. We're able to do something with this that many congregations really couldn't even dream of trying. But it is absolutely our goal that as we walk forward, we look at expanding and all of those things, that we would work together and not have it be something that divides us. Scheduling efficiently. So it is true that if you would look at all of our services, you see that kind of declining trend line over the course of 20 years. It's much more pronounced when it comes to our Thursday and Saturday attendance. You look at the end there of that one and you see the COVID dip and then up, and then you notice there's a second dip there. So to the point where the numbers we're seeing on Saturday and Thursday or combined are causing us to take note and kind of ask, how long will it be viable to have both a Thursday and a Saturday? Do we look at combining into one non-Sunday service? If we would do something like that, well then when would it be? Thursday, Saturday, a different day? Would you do it seasonally? Thursday during summer, Saturday during the school year? No decisions have been made, but it's getting to the point where we're having to ask the question. And so there are some survey questions there that are intended to help with that. If you look then at the survey, and I realize when I look at my time here, I'm going to have another presenter coming in very quickly. I'm sorry about that, but we do want to keep to time too. We're asking you to look at the strengths and the weaknesses, or areas for improvement, I guess we would say. Circle what you feel are our top three in each. Circle the top three in each. Then you have what would you add? So your own comments there, just comments in writing. What's missing? Where are we off base? Then if you would flip to the worship survey questions. Those are the ones that we're looking for information for you that maybe helps us make some decisions with the worship that we currently do. The ones I just want to point out are number 4 and number 6. You see the underlined segments there. Only answer number 4 if you circled B or C in question 2. And number 6, only answer that one if you circled Thursday or Saturday for your service that you are regularly at. Go ahead then and please start to fill out those surveys. I will answer questions if you don't know what one of those strengths or weaknesses mean. Please either just raise your hand, or I can come over to you, or I can answer it out loud. But we'll give you a few minutes here until the next presenter comes. And remember, at the end, you are welcome to stay as long as you wish. You can take it with you to breakfast and fill out the rest of it at breakfast. But I realize probably by the time the next presenter starts, you won't be all the way done with the survey.
Good morning. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Josh Wilsman, and the second key item for our long-range plan is future growth. We want to make sure that Faith's ministries are continuing to grow. So as we look at future growth, we want to make sure that we have a sustainable plan to maintain and expand the infrastructure and ministry offerings of Faith Church and School. A lot of exciting growth has happened in recent years at Faith, and I wanted to start by taking a quick look back. In 2017, we launched the Abound Capital campaign to help raise funds for a school expansion, and I served as the chairman for that committee. In 2018, that rolled right into starting on that school expansion, and I was in charge of maintaining overall project budget and finances. And then in 2020, we had the opportunity to purchase 5 additional acres to expand our campus, and I was a member of the committee that developed Faith's offer for purchasing that land and worked with the bank to refinance the mortgage. Over the last 6 years, Faith has been privileged to see a lot of external growth. They've been exciting times, and I had the opportunity to serve behind the scenes, working on a lot of the financial projections to make sure those numbers all worked. Now, I currently serve as a congregation's treasurer, and based on those experiences, I was asked to present on our goals for Faith's future growth. In addition to the external growth we had over the last 6 years, we've also achieved some internal growth, and I wanted to just highlight one example, the hiring of our business manager. Carolyn has worked for many years as Faith's bookkeeper, but as our ministries grew, it was more than one person could maintain, and we are blessed to have Betty join her, and the team of Carolyn and Betty working as our business office team keeps our financial house and day-to-day operations in very good order. It makes my job as treasurer a lot easier. So as we look forward to the next 6 years, what type of growth do we foresee? Is building project 2.0 in the near future, or are we going to be focused more on internal growth? The first part of a sustainable plan is to make sure that we can maintain the infrastructure we currently use. The Future Foundations campaign is coming to an end at the end of this year. One of the commitments to the congregation was that this wouldn't be followed up by a third capital campaign, but that would be building annual mortgage payments into our budget. This year, there's over $100,000 in principal and interest payments. That's projected to continue to increase for the next 2 years and then should be leveling off shortly after that. In 2025 is when that's projected to level off. That's also the time when Faith has to refinance our mortgage with the bank. If you've probably heard in the news, interest rates have been going up a lot, and so we are continuing to monitor that. Gifts to Future Foundations have exceeded projections, and so based on where interest rates currently are, we are still on track to be able to afford our mortgage payments, even if there is a significantly higher interest rate. Currently, they're almost double what our current interest rate is. Total costs for the building project were about $3.7 million. In 2009, when the Abound campaign ended, our mortgage balance was down to about $1.6 million, and after purchasing the land in 2020, that went up to about $1.9 million. As we sit here today, we currently have a balance of approximately $1.1 million, and based on our projections, that means the mortgage would be paid off in approximately 2033. So as we look to the future, what's our plan for future growth over the next 6 years? We're going to be focused on paying down the mortgage from our recent school expansion, and that means that another building expansion isn't likely to occur within the next coming years. And so while we may not be growing as much externally, we want to focus on internal growth and making sure that Faith's ministries continue to expand. Our campus and buildings are tools to carry out all of our programs. The first goal for future growth is to develop a sustainable plan that maintains all of our current ministries. This year, our annual budget is just shy of $3 million. By far the largest area of expense is costs related to our 3K to 8 school and preschool that we carry out. The next largest is the church's ministries, and the final two areas are our support of a Christian education for the high school level at WLA and our gifts to Synod, where we partner with churches across the country to support missions in the United States and around the world. Faith operates with a balanced budget, and we have $2,966,489 in revenue to support our expenses. The largest area of support continues to be your regular offerings, which provides half of that budget. However, the area of concern is the 3% of our budget that's supported by cash reserves. You've probably seen it in your own life, and as the church develops their budget, costs have been increasing rapidly over the past several years since COVID, and our income has not increased at the same rate. Over the past 3 years, the amount of cash reserves needed to balance the budget has increased quickly. And after this year, these cash reserves are going to be nearly depleted. So our primary goal in the coming years is to reduce this funding gap. With such a large budget, I think it's easy to forget at times what ministries your weekly offerings are going to support. So when you give your offerings, 57% of your offerings are used to support our 3K to 8 education here on campus in our school and preschool. 24% of your offerings are supporting the church's ministry, 10% for WLA, and 9% in support of Synod's mission work. The second key to faith's growth is to have long-term fiscal stability, and this starts by having an annual budget that is balanced without relying on cash reserves. However, handling the rate of inflation in recent years has been challenging and is projected to continue to be so in the next several budgets. It takes people to carry out ministry, and Faith is blessed to have a full staff of pastors, teachers, and hired workers. 65% of our budget is salaries and wages and benefits for these people. And again, costs have been increasing at a quicker than historical rate to maintain a competitive compensation package for these people. We are also seeing significant increases in our costs for utilities and insurance. In the face of these rising costs, keeping school tuition affordable is also an important part of our fiscal stability. We're going to continue to promote financial assistance opportunities for members that may need that to be able to afford sending their children to our school. And one new opportunity that's going to be introduced soon is a legacy grant program to help support school funding. And the school board is also looking at ways to increase third source funding to complete projects outside of the budget. Both the church and school have needs and plans to expand our programming and staffing to carry out our ministry in the coming years. The percentage of your offerings that are being used to support WLA and Synod has remained fairly consistent in recent years. However, the portion of offerings used to support the school ministry has seen a steady increase, which means less is being used to support church ministries. It's important that we get to a point where that stays at a consistent level so that both the church and school have stability in the ministry and a plan as to how much they can expand their ministries. We're already in the process of changing over from historically, Faith has just worked on a one-year budget at a time and started over every year. We are switching over to a rolling 3-year budget that'll be reviewed every year as we present the annual budget. And this will help us better project cost increases in the coming years and funding that would be required to support that. The last area for future growth is expanding our infrastructure. The older portions of our campus will start to need larger projects to maintain the facilities we have. Examples are the recently completed AV and lighting upgrades here in the sanctuary. Additional items that need to be completed in the near future include replacing the roof on the sanctuary, parking lot repairs and replacement of HVAC equipment in the older portions of the building. Technology continues to play an ever-increasing role in carrying out the ministry that we do. We are blessed to have a very high-quality IT network to support that currently. However, these needs change rapidly and will continue to also require continued investment to maintain a safe and secure network to support our ministries. We're also looking to expand our ministries through several projects. When Pastor Weigand asked people to go to different rooms, one of the things he had to do was mention if you have problems hearing here in the sanctuary, to please go to another room. He's also talking about how we want to enhance and improve all of our worship services. One of the projects needed to be completed to do this is acoustic upgrades in the sanctuary that would reduce the echoes so people can better hear and understand what is said. The school is also looking to renovate the kitchen. This would allow them to prepare hot lunches on site and provide a higher quality hot lunch program to our students. As the preschool has grown, they're also looking to expand their playground so that the children have adequate space to play. So once again, we are asking for your feedback in several areas. There are two questions where we are asking for feedback. The first is, in recent years, as we discussed, the portion of your offerings, how they support church ministries, school ministries, WLA and Synod has been changing, and so we are just looking for feedback on what you think is the best allocation of your offerings and what areas of ministry they should be supporting. And then the second, we went over a list of some of the major projects that are coming up in recent years. Some of those are listed with a brief description, and we're asking your feedback on how important you think each of these is. You're not ranking them against each other, so multiple projects can have the same score. And then again, there's areas of strength and areas for improvement identified. We're asking for you to pick which ones you think are the biggest of those. And then if you feel that we missed something, there are lines where you can add your own to that as well. So thank you for your time this morning, and in a few minutes, the third presenter will be here.
For those of you who don't know me, my name's Dean Waldschmidt. I serve as the congregational chairman presently. I have served on other boards, various boards here at Faith throughout my 55 plus years here. And my wife reminded me this morning after last night, and she sat in there and she says, well, you know, I've been a member here 65 years. So now you know how old she is. Key item number 3, congregational culture. What is culture? Culture is the beliefs and values made evident in the manner in which a congregation operates. I would put in quotes there, faith operates. Culture is driven by people. Pretty direct. I didn't think that was quite as expansive as it needed to be. So I went and I looked at the faith mission statement. And I'll share that with you, and I kind of interjected a few words along the way. Faith's mission statement. Compelled and motivated by Christ's love, the members of Faith Lutheran Church serve the Lord by sharing the gospel, gathering the lost, and strengthening believers. Some of the key areas that we hope to get your input on here in the next today is enhance the spiritual growth of church and school members and families. By now you've heard Faith has over 1,600 members. You've also heard that on a weekly average, there's only about 40% of them in church. Obviously, membership is aware of that and looking for ways to address it. This is where you come in. We want your thoughts. We want your ideas. Increase member involvement, engagement, and service. Lots of moving parts here. We can't expect the called workers and the hired staff to do all that needs to be done to run this congregation, to make this congregation work, to fulfill its mission statement. So we need your involvement, your engagement, and your service. Whatever your skill set is, please volunteer and step up. More on that in a minute. Cultivate a personal and congregational outreach mindset. I'm going to let that just hang there for a minute, and I'll come back to that in a second. Improve church and school safety and security. Unfortunately, in the world we live in right now, that's an issue. We're sinners. We live in a sin-infected world with other sinners. And that's an issue. And if you managed to, or if you arrived just a little late this morning or in the last year or so, you know that you can get in those first set of doors, but those second set of doors are locked. Just one of those things we're doing to improve church and school safety. Expand support for the spiritual, emotional, and physical health of called workers and hired staff. MLC, or Martin Luther College, where our called workers are trained, have always done a very good job. Priority number one, spiritual health of the students and the call workers beyond that. The physical health, too. It's kind of a no-brainer, okay? That emotional, that component of that is something that just recently, I shouldn't say just recently, but is a little bit newer and a little bit more of an emphasis for those students and those that are at Martin Lutheran College. They're really concentrating on those three things. Enhance culture and grace and excellence. Going to steal something from Martin Luther College again. Their theme for the last year has been, and it's just short, sweet, but it says it all: excellence under the cross. For each individual here, for Faith Congregation, again, I just think that says everything. We're not going to have perfection here, but we certainly can strive for excellence. Going back to the outreach mindset, it has two components. The personal, looking for, talking to, inviting those in my life who don't know Jesus. I don't know about you, but I'm not necessarily the most comfortable doing that. My stomach tightens up every time I perceive I have that opportunity to do it. Something that you got to kind of fight against and overcome. The other side of that coin is congregational, inviting, welcoming, and considering the perspective of those who don't know Jesus as we plan ministry. Again, that's what we're striving for here, to be a welcoming and inviting congregation. Engagement. You're doing it today by being here, filling out those questionnaires and being willing to step up and volunteer for things. Also, reaching out and getting to know fellow members. If you haven't been a member, connect groups. I think we've been promoting that a lot, and with good reason. We want those new members to feel welcome here, and one of the ways we do that is getting them into groups with members who have been here before and doing fun stuff. If you haven't been or haven't hosted one, please do. It's a lot of fun. Being invested in the overall ministry of the congregation. This is your congregation. Whatever your skill set is, and the good Lord has blessed you with whatever skill set that is, put it to use here. Put it to use in God's kingdom. Let's see. If you would go to the last page of that packet that you received. And this is an area where everybody can get involved. And if you'll just indulge me for a minute, I'll read that paragraph. Can you help us improve our worship welcome? Until COVID, Faith Worship Welcome consisted of usher teams and greeter teams. The ushers handed out bulletins, gathered the offering, ushered people for communion, and other logistical tasks. The greeters welcomed people at the door and sometimes handed out bulletins. Post-COVID, our usher teams have shrunk significantly, and we have not resurrected the greeter program. Taking a page from the Refield worship welcome teams, and excuse me for just sitting over, because I know John Calkins is sitting over there, and he was a big driving force in getting this Refield's worship service started here. We are planning to establish worship welcome teams for every service, not separate usher and greeter teams. We would like to use both individuals and entire families to help serve on these teams where possible. The bulk of the team would function before and after worship, standing at the doorways, helping direct people where to commune, offering, and dismissal. But only 2 or 3 members of the team would need to remain in the narthex during the entire service. This way, a family could serve on a team and still worship together as a family in church. Our main goal is to have, I think I missed something there. Anyway, I'll continue on. This way, a family could serve on a team and still worship together as a family in church. Our main goal is to have a consistent, really important, these next words in all that sentence, consistent, warm, and welcoming environment at all our services, and involve as many members as we can to make it happen. Don't worry, you'll have help and training so that you'll know what to do. So, can you help make this happen? Please fill out that questionnaire. Tear it off. There's separate baskets for that and also for the survey that you're filling out. If you indicate your willingness to help out, our team leaders will reach out to you within the next month. Thank you. Just like to finish up. You kind of know the drill by now. Finish filling out your survey. We certainly would like you to fill it out today and hand it in today. We're not going to hold you hostage if you don't, but we'd really like to have you see that. We'd like to see you turn that in today. Is there any questions? If you have any, I'll be up in front here for a little bit. Take as much time as you need to finish that out. If you have, most probably do not have anyone in child care here. Otherwise, go and gather them, and hey, breakfast is on us this morning. So you come back and enjoy that. Thank you all. Certainly appreciate your presence here and your attention. And remember, it's about you and your involvement and your engagement in all of this. Thank you.